All right, and well, that looks according to the standard. Uhuru's government now takes shape, and those few slots and positions that had been left have now been filled. And well, Bernard, your thoughts on this election, and especially one of the key positions that many were looking out to see who's going to fill it is the DPP, Director of Public Prosecution.
Okay, thank you, Mike, and welcome, viewers. I think, in my view, the position of DPP was very important, and the main people who are angling for that position were Noordin and Letangule. So I think, from the experience they had, all those people had some legal background, and I'm told Noordin has been working as deputy for NIS. So given his investigative kind of experience, yes, I think he's qualified. Although some Kenyans, some people are arguing that maybe it's just a reward for maybe his father being a senator, and he has been Major retired Haji, and he has been, you know, a close ally of President Uhuru Kenyatta, sorry. So he was likely to be considered, given, you know, some of the secrets that government normally engage in. So.
And one of the areas that the DPP or that office has been failing in is investigations. Many of the cases that possibly are put before the courts end up not going anywhere, and the blame game continues, but the main blame comes on the part of investigation. So we are hoping with NIS experience, then hopefully he should be able to do something. Nerima, your comments on the newly elected cabinets?
Yes, I mean, yes. Speaking on DPP, I think what Kenyans are looking forward to is someone who is firm. Like you've talked about, there have been several investigations. We cannot even forget the case of Msando last year, and that's mentioning just very few. We saw lawyers being killed. We saw a lot of people, even when we're talking about police brutality. So there are a lot of issues that he will have to handle. And a lot of Kenyans are looking forward to someone who is firm and someone who shows action. So that's going to be interesting to see. As far as the names being mentioned, I think that we're happy that we're beginning to see people taking their places, because we have been fearing that our government hasn't been quite working, because there have been a lot of positions left open for a very long time. And then we've also had the issues of funding within the counties. So there's been a lot of deadlock. And so hopefully with people taking up these positions, we'll start to see action within the administration. And there's still some time for the public to actually give in their views. I think they have about, 2 weeks to give to the relevant National Assembly committees. But whether those views will be heard is another story. Whether Kenyans actually give,
and especially looking at how the previous 7 nominations were done. Not that there's going to be vetting, but even those that, it was purely endorsement. But also, before we move away from this, gender balance.
Yeah, I wanted
again.
I wanted to comment on that. Still, there's a lack of gender balance on the names that have been given by the president. And we are also seeing a comeback of some, leaders or some politicians who lost in the last elections. So it's like a cycle, cycling all the, old guys to take up positions, which can easily be taken up by young people who have experience and who have the capacity and energy to deliver the services. So people like Machage, they have been there for quite long. Now, for just to reward the say Kuria community, they have to adopt him and take him to become ambassador. So we are seeing common names like Hassan Noor is there, Ibrahim, Elmi. These are former politicians, and they are there only to in preparation for the next election. It's not that they are there to commit themselves to service delivery, but mark timing for the 2022 election.
2022. Now, Nerima, you represent 2 constituents there that are probably not very well represented. One, the youth, and 2, women. Siasa place. Is there anything that possibly you're able to do to ensure that you create the platform for that to change?
Well, we are in discussions in creating a campaign or working on a campaign to push for the gender agenda and basically young people being represented in these such cases. But a lot of times we found that perhaps our leadership doesn't believe in the young people. As much as we talk about we want to make sure that there are opportunities for the youth, we want to make sure that we represent the youth, it basically shows that they do not believe in youth leadership. And so maybe it's a question on perhaps we do not even give young people these opportunities because we do not think that they can carry them through. But that's all false because we have a government that, again, as Benedict has mentioned, rewards. They give people who... Bernard has mentioned that they reward people who have been working with them within the administration. And if we think about it that way, by the time you get to that position, you have to have the financial capacity to actually be able to support a campaign. So already, young people have been kicked out of that criteria. So it's something that's very worrying, but it has to change. And hopefully with the campaign in the next few months, we'll begin to see more and more vocal women and more vocal youth.
Do you think we're making progress in that regard, especially when it comes to gender parity and the youth being included in leadership? Because this is something we've been talking about for a long time. I mean, during Moi's time, it used to be the young are leaders of tomorrow. Tomorrow came and passed, and we still are not seeing them there.
There's a bit of progress because when we talk about the affirmative action, we do see more women, but not necessarily meeting that quota. If we look at last year, the number of women who participated in elective seats increased. Although there was about 14,000 people who went for those seats, there were 2,077 women. So it's a small number compared to the actual figure at large. But then when you look at the year before, that number has increased dramatically. So we're seeing more and more women going for elective seats. It's a small increment, but it's definitely there.
Definitely steps